forward to this.
I somehow feel compelled to just talk you through my choice of pancakes here. Public toilets for the site aren't worth visiting unless you like the scene out of Trainspotting where Ewan McGregor's climbing out of the toilet.
So no doubt I'll be a sweaty mess in just a second.
Hi, I'm Daz and she's Bee, and we're on a 12-week road trip round France with our boys and our greyhound Sammy. Join us as we explore the history, beauty and fun we can squeeze in while getting to grips with the challenges of working and home educating on the road as a family in France, living a life less ordinary as we escape in the motorhome.
Well, this has got to be one of the most beautiful morning walks I've ever been on. I'm right on the edge of Bugue. I can see a heron in the water and something else in the distance that looks like a massive bird of prey. Is that or an otter? I'm not sure. Mammal or bird? Easily confused. It must have been very early. It's a beautiful town that we find ourselves in, Limeuil, but because it's a cloudy day, unfortunately our electricity has run out. So we wanted to stay here another day, but I think we might have to move on to somewhere that has electricity, which is a shame, but luckily the Dordogne is full of beautiful, beautiful villages. So this morning we're doing a proper touristy thing. We're going to the Prehistoric Aquarium, and it's an aquarium, but there's also crazy golf alongside it. There's some sort of climbing apparatus, a labyrinth. It's been perfectly set up for tourists such as us. But what's nice is that we are only a 7-minute walk from our camping area. We might see if we can move to a different town, possibly Limeuil, and see if we can find a place that has electricity. We did see one bit of publicity put onto our motorhome this morning, and it looked quite appealing. It was a farm. It was only €3 for electricity and free otherwise. Found in the France passion booklet, and then Daz looked onto the website and it says, come and see our foie gras presentations where we force feed the geese, and then we all kind of went, it is that region, we know that. So we've gone from a Basque region in France where they do bullfighting and it's part of their tradition, and here it's the region of foie gras where geese are force fed to make their livers nice and fatty. But yeah, I will happily sort of walk past the foie gras shop, that's fine, but I don't think I can stay on the farm knowing that it's happening next door to my motorhome. On arrival, we found ourselves in Univerland, which included the aquarium, prehistoric labyrinth, huge climbing cage and golf. The ticket prices were ouchy and I suddenly panicked that we'd fallen into a tourist trap. So we're now inside the complex with Parc Plaisir passes. You can do the mini golf, you can do the aquarium, and you can do the labyrinth for about £33 per adult or child. So let's get on with seeing what the aquarium has to offer. We're quite looking forward to this. Aquarium Périgord Noir is the largest private freshwater aquarium in Europe and focuses on what can be found in France's lakes and rivers. As well as this, there is a reptile house and an alligator house. The heart of the rivers, I think. Now they've now finished their show on the mycasters, but they certainly look like the koi poos, and they are related to the koi poos that were introduced into France in the 19th century for their fur, and they're found in rivers around the south of France and occasionally in the north, and they are considered to be a bit of a pest. But they've got them here because it's important to note that they are part of the French ecosystem now. This chappie is an American bullfrog that's been introduced into Europe and is an invasive species and impacts a lot of the animals that are in France because it eats the same prey, lays far more eggs, and it's carnivorous, so it can eat the other amphibians too. Now somewhere in here are the very shy xenopuses. Now, I've just been doing some interesting reading about how these are actually found in the Loire Valley, obviously another invasive species, but back a few decades ago, I think it was 1950s or 1960s, they were used for pregnancy tests. Nature is amazing. In between the 1940s and 60s, doctors would inject a woman's urine under the skin of a xenopus. 12 hours later, if the poor creature had produced some black and white spheres, then the lady was definitely pregnant. And these are koi carp. I didn't have enough footage. Sorry. So there are lots of different types of sturgeons in this tank, including a beluga sturgeon. And we've all heard of beluga, probably because of the caviar. So the caviar, their fish eggs, are the coveted ones. I don't think these are the beluga ones, it's the bigger ones. We'll wait until they come around. That looks like a beluga one. So his fish eggs apparently served up in those posh restaurants as caviar. The freshwater theme continued, but this time in America with alligators. So we've gone to see some 5-year-old, 7-year-old and 10-year-old alligators, but here we are face to face with 2 American alligators. Reticulated pythons aren't the biggest though, it's the anaconda, 1 metre longer at 10. There's the anaconda. Okay, this is the kind of snake that really scares me. The kind of snake that would squeeze you to death and then eat you whole. That is the stuff of nightmares. When we first arrived at this place, I was quite alarmed at the entry fee. We had paid extra for the golf and the labyrinth. However, the aquarium itself is absolutely outstanding. I'd highly recommend it to anyone that's visiting the area. It's brilliant, really, really good aquarium, loads to see, and we want to stay for another hour or so still. After some refreshments, it was time for the Prehistoric Labyrinth. This was such an unexpected hit. There were riddles, escape rooms, spooky routes, laser mazes, and a mirror maze where a Cro-Magnon man chased you about. Loved it. So we're doing the labyrinth, the maze now. We're answering true or false questions about Cro-Magnon man, and then we've got to fill in the answers. There are lots of different sections. It's quite good fun. It does involve you doing a little bit of drama, but that's all okay because we're learning something at the same time. Rock weather station. If you touch the rock and it's hot, you know it's sunny. If the rock is cool, it's cloudy. If it's wet, it's raining. If you ask what rock, I can't see anything, it's foggy. And finally, if it's gone, there's been a hurricane. What an excellent invention. Our next job was to search through the explorer's house, infer some of the clues that were left around, and then answer some questions. It was really intriguing and very cleverly done. So we had to look for the clues. We determined by listening to the radio when he speaks that he likes tea and classical music. We got his address from the letterbox that's outside, which has his letter in. And what else did we do? Oh, and we worked out his number plate. We're having a good time, it's really good. You just had your treat, haven't you? C'est bon?
Bon.
Bon appetit.
Enjoy your 7% beers. Sleep well, children.
I feel somehow compelled just to talk you through my pancake choices here. So we were supposed to be doing savoury, but come the end of this hour and a quarter long marathon of cooking pancakes, I've probably just caned about half the gas in the cupboard too. I've gone for chopped banana and sugar. I've got a lovely vegan cheese and sweet corn one there melting away, and an American style peanut butter and jello. That, along with my child's fork and a grown-up beer, is dinner. Don't judge me.
Hello. Last time I saw you, we were just going round that crazy escape room with puzzles and mirror mazes and all sorts, and then my phone died. But do you know what? I have nothing but good things to say about the aquarium and about the labyrinth, prehistoric. My kids absolutely loved it. There were laser things to jump over. There was a mirror maze with cavemen that were jumping out all over the place. There were mysteries to solve. There was a learning experience where you had to decide on true and false answers about cavemen and Cro-Magnon men's lives. It was just so much to do, and all the way along the kids didn't realise they were learning loads. It was fantastic.
Bonjour, mes amis, from a rather sunny and potentially extremely hot Tuesday in France. Today's recommended temperatures might go up to about 36 degrees with no aircon, and kids who seem to hate the heat. It's going to be a difficult day, so I think we're heading somewhere that's cool and wet for the kids to hang out. I'm just at the service station of this rather lovely landscaped air. However, the leaf blower did start kicking off this morning at about 8 o'clock around the kids' play area, so that got everybody up. But I've also been faced with the first challenge in a month of a tap that isn't non-standard hose pipe thing. So I have this little beauty I got from Asda. I'm going to give that a go and see if it works. That's quite the difference. Yesterday when I tried to fill up our blue canister from this tap, it went absolutely everywhere, so I'm expecting something similar. Right, I need 2 hands to tighten that. The public toilets for the site aren't worth visiting unless you like the scene out of Trainspotting where Ewan McGregor's climbing out of a toilet. If you've watched it, you know what I mean. Like, sounds like someone's coming along with their water butt. Yeah, he's emptying his cassette right next to where I'm filling up. So I've decided, rather than sort of do facial pleasantries, that I would just pretend I'm talking to my son inside and wait for him to finish his business before I go and attempt to turn this tap on, which could spray everywhere, and including all over him. So another minute. While I'm stood here, I noticed the number of cars have gone up in the car park. Today might be some kind of market day. Well, after I drop the kids off, I'm coming back here to work, so I shall find out later on. Right, now Monsieur's gone, let's give it a go. It's one of those ones you've got to hold on to. Okay. In some sort of backdrop. This is what I could do with another pair of hands. And so it goes on. Yesterday, came to fill the bag up, sprayed everywhere, but through a walk of shame back past all the motorhome was completely covered in water. Right, I'll get on with this, leave you to it.
We've just pulled up in Limeuil, and it's apparently one of the très beaux villages in France, so we're looking forward to exploring this today. Well, I am. I'm not sure about the children. I don't think I can match yesterday's aquarium, escape rooms, labyrinth, golf experience. It's going to be a tough one, but it's going to be warm today, so you're all going to go back to the camping area that we were in, aren't you?
Yes,
we
I'm
paid
working
up.
all day.
Lucky Daz. Right, first thing to explore in Limeuil is the Panoramic Gardens. I've got a great big bag of stuff to take up with me. So we know with the Dordogne department, there are caves, there are gorges, there are hills, and there are various levels, and we're just dealing on one of those levels this morning. Now, according to my phone, the temperature today is going to reach about 34-35 degrees, but I am so thankful that this morning we have some cloud cover. Because 35, yes. Not yet though. That's why we're leaving early in the morning. Now it's not a particularly long walk up, between 5 and 10 minutes, but as you can see, it's fairly steep and not for the faint-hearted. Don't go with a massive bag. There are resting points if you should need them on a hot day. Whoa, it's just like Harry Potter. Well, the sound of cicadas is almost drowning us out. I've just seen 2 lizards scurrying, or possibly newts, scurrying out of what was the well. It's lovely up here. There was me thinking it was free. It's actually nearly €10 for an adult and slightly less for a child. So for 3 children and myself to get in, it was €29. So we're going to make the most of it. We're just chilling out here in the shade and having some refreshments, whilst the little ones play chess, giant chess. So just behind me you can see this house, and that was the house that we entered in. That was the reception and where we paid. It's actually a house built in the Perigordian style, and it was the house that was bought by Dr. Linnaeus, who turned this place into, or the start of what this place is now, which is a beautiful botanical garden. He was inspired during his time in Morocco, where he was actually a doctor to a sultan out there. And so when he came back, he bought this place and decided to start work on it. But this place has got a really long history before that too. Limeul's history has been a tricky one though. Its position at a rocky outcrop, the Vizier and the Dordogne River both meet, which means it has been a disputed place in terms of who owns it. In the 100 Years' War, the Perigordians, or Perigord, sided with the English, which meant that the castle was destroyed. The lords of Limeuil were in allegiance with the King of England. And then later on, during the religious wars, this part of the Dordogne was in allegiance with the Protestants, which meant the Catholics came and destroyed the village. So there's been all sorts of issues going on. We're just coming out of the water garden. You could smell, before we got to it, this enormous lavender plant which we've just been admiring and of course rubbing our hands on, being careful for the bees. From this view you get a really good example of the Perigord style of roof. They're very, very tall, and apparently if you're in a posher house you get another layer of tiles in a Genoese style, but I can't see them. And here we are in the Garden of the Colours, and apparently all the plants in this section can dye your clothes. We've seen beetroot, we've seen courgette, we've even seen potato, tomatoes, certainly things that have stained my family's clothes from time to time. Apparently the Vizier is ochre coloured, especially after rain, so I'm guessing that is the Vizier there, and this is the Dordogne here, which continues, but I may be wrong, because I usually am, and I'm happy with that. So all the way around the gardens there are these observation points where the Dr. Linnaeus is telling us about the interesting things to spot, and they have it in English as well. We're currently in the Witch's Garden, which can be accessed by a mirror, and the mirror is behind me. Woo! And then we are surrounded by plants that have harmful and helpful properties. I recognise this. I'm sure this can be turned into a very toxic, strong drink if you were to have too much of it. Peppermint. We have mint and strawberry here. Strawberry mint. You can get a chocolate mint plant. Oh, here's another surprise. The doctor was just telling us all about how agriculture has formed the shape of the land, and it says here, in the valley the fields of tobacco, corn and rapeseed form a geometric checkerboard. Absolutely, but I didn't know they grew tobacco in France. There's a surprise. So our time in the garden is just about at its end now. Some of us have been bitten to death. It's an extremely hot day. They're threatening thunderstorms, and actually we quite like a thunderstorm, but I think we're going to go and cool down in the Dordogne River, hopefully leaving a wish on the wishing tree. At least the sun is behind the clouds, but it is a punishingly warm day. We're getting a lot of resistance because it is so hot, but we do have to pass through the town to get to the river. So down we go. What goes up must come down. So I'm assuming it's going to be a very sloping little village, but I'm looking forward to some beauty despite the moaning that I'm surrounded by. So this is a fancy house because it's also got the Perigordian roof, but it's got that additional little roof tile. There it is. So in the Middle Ages, the houses were separated from by these little avenues, and that's where your sinks and your latrines would be, and that's where the wastewater would drain. So you can just see the remains of the latrines now. So it's a trench that's called an andron or androne. No doubt about it, this is a very pretty little village, and this is said to be a little tailor's workshop, and the fittings would have taken place on the street. So I was just saying we need some of these ropes in the motorhome, but look at the little gap here. It's a little cat flap. Well, we'll have to do kayaking on another day. We did try, but I think they were a bit reluctant to take Indy on board, which I do understand. But I think he's going to be able to do some paddle boarding with Daz, whilst I take the other two into a kayak. But for today, it's a really nice way to end the day in the river, nice and cool, where the Vezir and the Dordogne meet. Up in the middle of the forest.
I'm kind of regretting that hour and 15 minutes I was making pancakes. Been a lot of fun milking their internet and their free Wi-Fi for the last 3 or 4 hours.
So, have you ever embarked upon something knowing full well you probably shouldn't be embarking upon something? That's what we're embarking upon now. How many times can I say embarking in the sentence?
I'm a scrawny teenager.
Yeah.
In there. Well, that's all for this video, folks. Congratulations to those who've managed to get this far. You've earned yourself one free go on our like and subscribe button. So go ahead at your own pace. It's just there at the bottom of the screen. Hope you enjoy it. And until our next escape, thanks for watching.